Welcome to Daily English Dialogues channel. Today we are opening the door to a space many of us visit monthly, yet few truly master the barbershop. What seems like a simple functional transaction, getting your hair cut, is actually, well, it's one of the most complex, linguistically demanding, and socially nuanced environments in the English-speaking world.
That is absolutely correct. Yeah. For anyone aiming for advanced English fluency, the barbershop or salon is a a phenomenal test case.
Right.
You need precision in your vocabulary, confidence in measurement, and, acute social intelligence regarding etiquette and finance.
Mm-hmm.
Miscommunication here doesn't just lead to an awkward conversation. It leads to, well, 3 weeks of regrettable style choices.
Definitely. So our mission in this deep dive is to extract every essential nugget of knowledge our sources provide. We want to move you, the listener, from being someone who just sort of points at a magazine
Yeah.
to a fully informed client, confident in demanding a low shadow fade and understanding the financial implications of leaving, say, a 25% tip.
Exactly. We're charting a course through the highly figurative language of English idioms, diving into the precise technical lexicon of cutting, analyzing optimal client communication strategies, and finally, dissecting the unwritten social and financial contract that governs this specific environment.
Okay, let's unpack this. And where better to start than with the vibrant, often kind of absurd world of English idioms centered around hair. This really shows us how English takes a simple physical feature, hair, and turns it into a metaphor for everything from panic to microscopic distance.
It's fascinating, isn't it, how hair has become a proxy for emotion and precision in our language. Idioms are the true hallmark of conversational fluency, allowing us to be evocative and, well, creative.
So how can we break these down?
We can categorize these hair idioms into themes of scale, emotion, and change, makes it a bit easier to grasp.
Okay, good idea. Let's start at the smallest end of the spectrum then. Precision and scale. We hear the phrase a hair's breadth constantly.
Yes, that is the ultimate standard for minimal distance. I mean, a hair is visibly thin, yet palpable, right?
Right.
Saying you were saved from an accident by a hair's breadth means the margin of safety was infinitesimally small. You could almost feel the danger. It speaks to extreme measurable closeness.
And then when people obsess over details, we get the slightly annoying act of to split hairs.
Ah, yes. This is the critical, often non-productive twin of precision. To split hairs means to argue or worry excessively about differences that are, well, insignificant.
So it implies frustrating triviality.
Exactly. Think of a tedious budget meeting where one person spends 20 minutes arguing about whether a line item should be classified as equipment or assets. They are splitting hairs and everyone else is, counting the minutes.
Right. Been there. And I personally love the humor and exaggeration in informal English, captured perfectly by the phrase, finer than frog hair.
That is pure, delightful hyperbole. It's great. We use it informally to emphasize that something is incredibly fine, delicate, or thin. Our sources gave the example of a person describing a finely spun piece of cashmere, or maybe a beautifully sharpened knife blade.
It conjures an image that is physically impossible.
Precisely. Which is why it works to emphasize extreme quality or thinness. It's memorable.
Okay, moving from precision to emotion, hair idioms are brilliant mood indicators. Let's look at the positive side first. Let your hair down.
This is such a beautiful image of relaxation. It means to shed your professional inhibitions, act freely, or just be at ease.
Where does it come from?
It comes from the historical idea of women being constrained by elaborate updos in formal settings. When they returned home, they literally let their hair down. It's the perfect idiom for, say, Friday evening.
Makes sense. On the other hand, what if someone is getting agitated? You might hear the wonderfully British command, keep your hair on.
It's wonderfully archaic and specific, isn't it? It is an urgent yet gentle request for someone to calm down and not get overly emotional or agitated.
Like a verbal de-escalation technique.
Exactly, and it sounds much more charming than just shouting, relax.
True. But hair can also signify distress or terror. We use makes your hair stand on end.
That phrase instantly captures horror or extreme fright. It refers to that involuntary physical response piloerection, where the hairs on your body literally rise, often visible on the back of the neck or arms.
So like watching a really scary movie.
Yeah, you might use it to describe a chilling true crime documentary, or maybe a surprise jump scare in a film. It just works.
And what about that visceral frustration we feel when dealing with bureaucracy or, an overwhelming task?
That's where you are driven to pull your hair out or tear your hair out. This conveys extreme worry or frustration, suggesting the situation is so difficult or impossible, like trying to meet a non-negotiable deadline with zero resources, that the only physical release is, well, self-inflicted distress.
Oof, it communicates total exasperation.
It really does.
Finally, let's explore idioms related to change and remedy, the punniest of the lot. Hair today, gone tomorrow.
Right, the phonetic similarity between hair and here is crucial here. It emphasizes the transient, fleeting nature of things.
So it's a bit philosophical.
It can be. It's a reflective, sometimes melancholic observation on impermanence, whether it's a sudden rise and fall in the stock market or a fleeting fashion trend that is hot one minute and forgotten the next.
And the most medically dubious of the remedies, a hair of the dog that bit you.
Ah, the classic folk remedy for a hangover. It means consuming a small amount of the same substance, usually alcohol, that caused the problem in the first place.
But it's used more broadly too, right?
Oh, yes. Linguistically, its usage extends beyond the bar. It can apply to any problem-solving strategy that suggests fighting fire with fire, using a small dose of the cause to temper the effect.
Interesting. And to wrap up the idioms, we have the phrase associated with perceived maturity or toughness, to put hair on your chest.
This phrase signifies doing or consuming something that makes one feel stronger, more robust, or more grown up. It's often used humorously now, perhaps describing a very strong, unadulterated black coffee, or maybe tackling a complex financial spreadsheet.
So character building through rigor.
Kind of, yeah. This whole section just demonstrates how proficient English relies on these shared cultural references to communicate complex, abstract notions really quickly.
It is clear that hair is profoundly important in the figurative sense. But now we must transition from the colorful world of metaphor to the world of absolute, non-figurative precision.
Okay.
We are shifting to the technical lexicon required when you are actually in the chair, because misusing terms here results in, well, a haircut that requires a hat for 2 weeks.
This is where we earn our deep dive title, I think. Many advanced English learners still default to vague terms like short on the sides. We need to equip them with the language to be specific.
So where do we start?
The starting point must be clarifying the distinction that plagues pretty much every barbershop: fade versus taper.
Okay, let's define the fade clearly. What is the definitive, non-negotiable characteristic of a fade?
A true fade is a gradient haircut that completely removes the outline of the hair. This blend runs continuously from the temple back to the nape of the neck, seamlessly blending down to the skin.
The crucial point is the hairline is erased.
Exactly. The natural hairline is erased by the blending process. That's key.
Now contrast that with the taper. I often hear people asking for a type taper, but describing what sounds like a fade.
Yes, a taper is often misidentified. It is a mini fade in the sense that the hair length changes, but, critically, only at 2 specific points: the temple and the nape.
Oh.
The essential difference is that a taper leaves a strong outline around the ear. The sideburn area and the hairline around the ear remain intact, just shortened.
So if a client asks you a little bit of a fade, what do they usually mean?
Almost certainly what they mean is a tight taper. Barbers appreciate the specificity because asking for a little fade is technically confusing, you see.
Right. That clarity alone will save many haircuts, I bet. Now, within the realm of the fade, we have a spectrum defined by height, low, mid, and high. How does the choice of height change the face shape and maybe the maintenance?
Good question. The height dictates where the shortest point, or the skin line, begins. A low fade keeps the transition point very close to the ears and nape. It's the most conservative option, really, and keeps the most visual weight on the sides.
And the most popular option, is it the mid fade?
Generally, yes, the mid-fade. This is the balanced option where the skin line rises up to the midpoint of the side of the head, roughly in line with the temple. This offers a modern look that suits most face shapes without being too dramatic.
Okay, and the high fade?
Conversely, the high fade pushes the skin line aggressively high, often above the temple. This is a bold, high-contrast look. It definitely requires more frequent maintenance and often suits narrower face shapes by making the sides look leaner.
We also have the critical factor of tightness, how close to the scalp we're getting. The sources break this into a crucial hierarchy: bald, skin, and shadow. Let's start at the most extreme, the bald fade.
Right. The bald fade is the tightest possible cut. It means the area has been cut down and then shaved, usually with a straight razor or foil shaver. There is absolutely no stubble left.
Very sharp look then.
Very sharp, high contrast, and dramatic. This requires near weekly maintenance to keep that bald section looking perfectly clean.
Okay, a step back from that is the skin fade. How's that different?
A skin fade is set with trimmers, which are used to achieve the shortest hair length possible without actually touching skin with a razor. You will see a very slight light stubble remaining.
So slightly less aggressive.
Marginally, yes,
Hmm.
but still gives that high contrast.
And for someone who wants to dip their toe into the fade world without the stark contrast, there is the shadow fade.
Exactly. The shadow fade is achieved using a closed clipper. It's very close, but it leaves a much more noticeable amount of stubble than the skin fade. This creates a softer, kind of shadowy transition.
Giving a more natural or lived-in feel.
Precisely. It's the perfect choice for maybe a more professional environment where a harsh bald fade might be too much, or for clients who only visit the barber every 3 or 4 weeks. It grows out a bit more gracefully.
Now let's discuss the structure of the cut above the sides. We distinguish between blended and disconnected. What's the key difference?
Blended signifies a smooth, seamless transition. The hair length changes gradually, ensuring no harsh lines or visible overhangs where the sides meet the top. It's the default for most classic polished haircuts.
Disconnected, however, is intentional contrast. Is that right?
Yes, disconnected means the hair on top is significantly longer than the sides, creating a noticeable overhanging piece or shelf. The transition is sharp, not gradual. This contrast is key to styles like the undercut.
Speaking of the undercut, many people use this term when they just mean short sides. Our sources define the true undercut as a dramatic contrast.
It is dramatic. The true undercut, like the Peaky Blinders style, involves shaving the sides and back to an extremely short length relative to the top, leaving a noticeable ledge or shelf all the way around the head.
High fashion, high maintenance.
Definitely. And the warning about the grown-out undercut resembling a muffin top is crucial.
Why does that happen?
Because as the top length grows and the sides stay shaved, the difference in weight creates an unflattering bulk that balloons out over the sides. That muffin top effect happens when the weight line isn't managed correctly during the initial cut, or if it grows out too much.
Okay, good to know. Let's clarify the terms barbers use regarding how the hair behaves versus the product used. Specifically, volume versus lift.
This is a subtle but important linguistic difference. Volume means the hair looks fuller and pushes out in all directions, making the head appear rounder or denser. Lift is specifically about height, pushing the hair straight up. If you have a round face, asking for lift will help stretch out the appearance of your face shape, whereas asking for general volume might just make your face look wider. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah. And the critical distinction between textured and spiky. This seems to be the difference between skill and just product overuse.
Precisely. When a client asks for spiky hair, they often imply a look achieved through excessive stiff gel. It often suggests an amateur, stiff finish.
Not ideal, usually.
Right. However, textured hair refers to a deliberate, subtle, piecey, or rough look achieved through cutting techniques like point cutting or sliver cuts.
So the cut itself creates the look.
Exactly. These techniques remove weight and create airspace within the hair structure, allowing pieces to separate naturally. If you want a natural piecey look, you must ask for it to be texturized and explicitly mention that you want the bulk removed by cutting techniques, not just thinning shears, which can sometimes leave a blunt, unnatural line if overused.
Okay, important distinction. Before we move on, let's clarify one last perpetually confusing pair. Side part versus comb over.
Yes. Let us state this unequivocally for the record. A side part is a style choice, simply wearing your hair parted naturally to the side.
And a comb over.
A comb over is a distinct strategic method used to hide baldness by growing the remaining hair long and sweeping it over the area of recession.
So, unless you are actively trying to hide a bald spot,
You are asking for a side part, not a comb over. Using the wrong term might lead a confused barber to cut an artificial part line into your head, thinking you want a style designed to mask hair loss. Big difference.
wow, this expansive technical vocabulary proves that stepping to the chair requires a new level of linguistic precision. But simply knowing the words isn't enough, right? The true art lies in communicating them effectively to achieve the desired result.
That brings us neatly to Section 3, the art of the ask. This is all about the client taking proactive control of the communication process to minimize misunderstandings.
And the first, and maybe most powerful tool, is nonverbal. Use pictures?
Yes, but the strategy needs to be sophisticated. Don't bring just one picture. Bring several, ensuring they are clear, bright, and show different angles front, side, and back if possible.
And critically.
Critically, try to find a model with a hair texture similar to yours. The same cut on dense curly hair looks drastically different than on fine straight hair.
That's a really good point.
Furthermore, clients must exercise realism. Professional photos often use hair fibers, specific lighting, and, post-production editing. Barbers are artists, but they are not miracle workers capable of recreating digital perfection. Keep expectations grounded.
Okay, next, to counter ambiguity, we should rely on the universal language of measurement.
This is the client's fail-safe, especially when dealing with language barriers or if the client is unsure of styling terms. Instead of vague descriptions like short,
He means different things to everyone.
exactly, rely on specific lengths. You should know the size of the clippers. For instance, I want a number 3 guard on the sides, blended up to maybe 2 inches on top.
Now, I often hear people confuse what the guard number means. Does a number 2 always look the same visually?
That's the challenge. A number 2 guard on coarse, dark hair will look much shorter and more defined than a number 2 on fine, light-colored hair, which might look quite soft.
So the number is just a starting point.
Right. The guard number gives the barber a starting point, but the measurements, the inches or millimeters, are the reliable reference for the final length and visual effect. Relying on both is best. Number 2, guard for a low fade, leaving about 2 inches on top. Be specific.
Our sources suggest a fantastic piece of guidance regarding attitude. Give goals, not directions. What does that mean exactly?
This is about trusting expertise. Explain how you want the final haircut to look. That is the goal. For example, I need a professional look that hides my recession a bit, that still has enough texture to be styled forward.
But don't tell them how to cut it.
Exactly. Do not tell the barber how to hold the shears or which specific section to cut first. Every professional has their own technique, and micromanaging the process often just hinders the final result. Focus on the outcome, not the execution.
That makes sense. Trust the process. Beyond the immediate request, the barber needs essential context sharing to ensure the cut works for the client's daily life.
Absolutely crucial. Start with styling habits. Are you a low-maintenance person who just towels dry, or do you commit 15 minutes every morning to blow-drying and applying multiple products?
Why is that so important?
Because a high-maintenance cut given to a low-maintenance client will lead to 3 weeks of disappointment. The barber needs to tailor the architecture of the cut to fit the time you are willing or able to spend styling it.
Okay. They also require relevant history and feedback.
Yes. Tell them what you loved about your previous haircut and, maybe more importantly, what you disliked. This helps the new barber avoid repeating previous mistakes.
And the time since the last cut.
Also share the time elapsed since your last cut. Knowing that hair grows roughly a ½ inch per month provides a critical reference point. If it's been 2 months, the barber knows you probably want to remove at least an inch to achieve the target length.
Safety and discretion are non-negotiable. Medical and physical information must be shared.
This is purely a matter of safety. You must inform the barber about any moles, scars, skin tags, or bumps so they can navigate those areas safely with clippers or razors.
And other physical characteristics.
Similarly, if you have specific physical characteristics like alopecia or prominent bald spots, informing the barber allows them to style the hair strategically to accommodate those areas, keeping the client comfortable and confident.
If the client truly doesn't know what they want, they still have a powerful communication tool. Alternative communication. How does that work?
If you are paralyzed by choice, maybe start by defining what you don't want. Establish boundaries immediately. I don't want anything shorter than a number 3, and I absolutely do not want an overhanging top.
So it narrows things down.
Exactly. This eliminates unsatisfactory options and provides a framework for the barber to offer informed suggestions based on what's left.
And finally, the highly practical, almost humorous piece of advice: sober decision-making.
Yes, this is sound practical advice. Getting a haircut involves multiple rapid-fire decisions, length, taper, part line, style, that you will live with for weeks.
You need a clear head.
You must be in a state of mental clarity to understand the technical nuances and make optimal choices about your appearance. Avoid making a high-stakes decision about your face shape after maybe a few glasses of wine. Probably not the best time.
Probably not. That sets up the client for successful communication. But the barbershop is more than just a place for language and lengths discussion. It's a social hub, governed by significant financial and conversational dynamics.
Indeed. We now move into Section 4, the unwritten rules of the social and financial contract, starting with the economics of gratuity. Why is the tip so central to the experience?
It's not just a bonus, is it? It feels more important than that sometimes.
Far from it. Tipping is an absolutely integral part of a barber's livelihood. Many barbers operate on a commission-based system, or They rent their chairs, meaning they really rely on tips to supplement their income.
How much are we talking?
Our sources indicate tips often constitute 20 to 30% of their total take-home pay. Gratuity is an essential part of the financial structure of the service industry here.
And this leads to the idea of tipping for relationship building. This is a strategic move, not just a reactive one, you're saying?
Absolutely. When you are a consistent, generous, and timely tipper, you are making an investment in a way. You are fostering a better rapport with your barber.
Which pays off.
It frequently translates into personalized attention. They remember your preferences without asking, they take extra care with your fade, and you may receive preferential treatment, like better appointment times or fitting you in during a busy period. It establishes you as a valued client.
Okay, so let's try and nail down the tipping guidelines and factors. What is the baseline standard?
The standard range is generally 18 to 20% for good professional service. 15% is probably the acceptable minimum for satisfactory service.
And for exceptional service?
You should reserve 25% or more for exceptional service, extreme convenience, or when the barber went significantly above and beyond. To ground this in reality, for a $40 haircut, a $7 or $8 tip, so 18% to 20%, is standard and appropriate.
What about services that take longer or require more skill, like color work, or maybe a luxury shave? Do they warrant a higher tip?
Absolutely. We call these complexity adjustments. Specialty services such as elaborate color treatments, balayage, complex styling, or a lengthy hot towel straight razor shave demand more time and significantly higher expertise.
So bump it up a bit.
In these cases, yeah, a 20% to 25% tip is warranted to acknowledge the increased effort and skill involved.
We must also address the special scenarios, such as when a client uses a coupon or discount. How does that work?
That is a crucial point of etiquette. You must always tip on the original price of the service. The barber should not be financially penalized just because the business decided to run a promotion.
Right, that makes sense. What about assistants or apprentices?
Similarly, if an apprentice or assistant shampoos your hair or performs a minor service, a separate small tip of maybe $2 to $5 directly to them is appreciated.
And holidays.
And during major holidays like Christmas, a more generous holiday tip, perhaps equivalent to the cost of one full service, is often seen as professional courtesy for your regular barber.
Now, let's address a point of conflict, maybe something listeners wonder about. If the service is genuinely poor, or if the barber makes a significant, visible mistake, what is the etiquette for handling dissatisfaction? Our sources seem to caution against withholding the tip entirely.
They do, and with good reason. Withholding the tip completely is often seen as extremely rude and passive-aggressive within the industry. The first step, always, should be polite, direct communication.
So speak up.
Yes. Point out the issue and allow the barber a chance to rectify it, often while they're still working, if possible.
But let's take the extreme example. What if the barber completely ignored the safety warnings about a mole or a specific scar and nicked the skin significantly? Does that still warrant a 20% tip?
Okay, that is where common sense and safety override cultural norms. If there is genuine negligence or a lack of attention to a critical safety warning like that, a client is certainly justified in reducing the tip significantly, say 10% or maybe even 5%.
But not zero.
Generally, even then, the advice is that if the service was catastrophically poor, the more professional approach is not to silently walk out with zero tip, but to speak privately and calmly with the salon or barbershop manager afterwards, explaining the deficiency.
Why is that better?
It provides actionable feedback to the business while maintaining a level of professionalism. Just walking out leaves them wondering what happened.
Okay. Regarding tipping methods, cash is still king, correct?
Cash preference remains very strong, yes. Cash tips are favored because they are immediate, private, and the barber receives the full value instantly.
Unlike cards.
Right. Tipping via card or digital methods often means the tip is processed through the business payroll, which can delay payment, and sometimes processing fees are deducted. Full cash value immediately is always preferred.
And let's not forget that appreciation isn't only about currency.
Absolutely. Non-monetary appreciation is hugely valuable. Referrals sending new clients their way loyalty, like rebooking consistently, and taking the time to write positive, detailed online reviews on platforms like Yelp or Google are essential ways to support their business long-term. Don't underestimate the power of a good review.
Definitely not. Finally, we turn to the social component, navigating small talk. Conversation is an integral part of the barbershop environment, but many clients kind of panic about what to say.
That panic is common, yeah. A great structured yet natural way to keep the conversation flowing is using the FORD method mnemonic: family, occupation, recreation, dreams.
FO.
Yeah. It provides 4 safe and expansive topics to draw from.
Let's exemplify this. If I'm the barber and you're the client, how do I use the occupation cue naturally?
Well, you might open with something like, so you mentioned you were an IT consultant. What's the most interesting project you've worked on recently? It shifts the focus away from the generic, how was your day?
More specific. And as the client, if the barber is sharing something about their life, say a recent trip, recreation, I can respond with a brief anecdote.
Exactly. Like, that hiking trip sounds amazing. We went to a national park last year, and I nearly got lost trying to find the trailhead. Keep it brief, relatable, and then maybe bounce it back with another question.
So this structured approach avoids dead silence and steers clear of overly intense topics.
Right. It keeps things light and moving.
What are the key categories for safe and interesting topics that came up in our source material? Besides FORD?
Focus on general interest areas. Current but non-political popular culture like movies or music. Hobbies such as photography or fitness. Local dining like new restaurants, or generalities about technology or work challenges. Like an IT consultant discussing the perennial problem of phishing scams, not their company's internal crisis.
Keep it broad.
Keep it broad, things that encourage connection without high risk.
Crucially, we must address respecting silence. Not everyone wants to perform small talk for 40 minutes.
Absolutely. Barbers are generally trained to read nonverbal cues. If a client is giving short, one-word answers, maybe has their eyes closed or is focused on their phone, they're signaling a preference for silence.
And that's okay.
That preference must be respected. For many people, the barbershop is a rare moment of relaxation, and silence isn't awkwardness. It's a desired state of peace. Don't force conversation.
And the final warning on etiquette: avoiding friction.
The consensus here is pretty absolute. Maintain a peaceful, professional environment by steering clear of potentially explosive or divisive subjects.
Such as
This includes volatile politics, religion, or any racially charged content. The goal is a comfortable service for everyone, not a heated debate.
This has been a remarkably detailed exploration. It really proves that the seemingly simple act of getting a haircut is actually a demanding exercise in advanced communication, requiring linguistic precision, strategic clarity, and pretty acute social awareness.
I agree. Our deep dive has hopefully provided the learner with the necessary sophistication, from defining why a tight taper is not a low fade, to understanding the social leverage afforded by a generous and consistent 25% tip. Competence in this service domain signifies real-world fluency, you know?
So what does this all mean? It means the listener is now ready to approach the barbershop experience not just as a consumer of a service, but as an informed participant in a nuanced cultural exchange.
Yeah.
Ready to demand the precise style they want, armed with the technical language to get it right the first time, and prepared to handle the financial social contract with confidence.
You are now equipped to communicate clearly, confidently, and strategically in that chair.
Okay, so we've established that the quality of service influences the tip amount, which is kind of reactionary, right, looking back at the service.
Mm-hmm.
But we also learned that consistent, generous tipping is an investment, known to foster better rapport, potentially leading to preferential treatment and increased care in the future.
Right, that relationship aspect.
This raises a compelling question for the informed client. Something to think about. Are you tipping based purely on the service just rendered, or are you strategically investing in the future quality and personalized attention of your next haircut? Essentially buying a subtle form of service insurance.